Have you ever watched someone go from fully engaged to acting like you don't exist? One day they're talking, laughing, and making plans. Then suddenly, silence. No calls, no replies, just nothing. Here's the thing. When someone starts ignoring you, it's not random. It's a decision. They won't explain, they won't confront you, they'll just vanish, leaving you questioning what went wrong. But that distance, it's often not about you at all. Some disappear because they no longer need anything from you. Others pull away because your growth makes them uneasy. And some, they were never truly invested to begin with. The truth? You don't need to chase, beg, or demand answers. Real strength comes from understanding why it happens and refusing to take it personally. So why do people suddenly cut you off, and what does it really mean? Stick around, because the last reason will change how you see everything. Before we dive in, listen closely to this story. It holds the key to unlocking the wisdom in this lesson. The story of Ethan. Ethan was the kind of person everyone gravitated toward. Kind, dependable, always willing to help. But one day, everything changed. Messages went unanswered. Friends who once sought him out grew distant. Conversations that used to be effortless now felt strained and cold. At first, he told himself maybe they're just busy. But deep down, one question haunted him. Why are they ignoring me? Frustrated, Ethan turned to his old mentor, Mr. Harris, a retired psychologist known for his wisdom. "Sir," Ethan sighed, "I don't understand. People who once valued me now act like I don't exist. What did I do wrong?" Mr. Harris smiled, handing Ethan a candle and a match. "Light it," he instructed. Ethan struck the match, watching as the candle's flame flickered to life. "Now," Mr. Harris continued, "hold it near this open window." Ethan did as he was told. Within seconds, a gust of wind snuffed out the flame. Mr. Harris leaned back and said, "That, my boy, is why people ignore you." Ethan frowned. "I don't get it." Mr. Harris chuckled. "A small flame stays lit when protected, but when it burns too bright, it attracts the wind." Ethan sat in silence as the truth sank in. People don't always ignore you because they dislike you. Sometimes they ignore you because your growth unsettles them. You were once familiar, predictable. But when you evolve, improve, or outgrow them, they start feeling small in your presence. Rather than rising with you, they pull away. That night, Ethan made a choice. He stopped chasing explanations. He stopped shrinking himself to fit in. He stopped feeling guilty for outgrowing people who refuse to grow. And just like that, he found peace in being ignored. Because he realized he wasn't being rejected, he was rising. People don't always turn away because you did something wrong. They turn away because your light reminds them of their own darkness. And a flame that burns too bright will always make the wind restless. So never dim your light just to stay visible to those who refuse to shine. Before we begin, if you find these videos helpful, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss new content. Now let's dive in. Number 1, they're testing your reaction. Some people ignore you not because they've lost interest, but because they want to see how you'll respond. It's a subtle, manipulative tactic designed to test your emotional investment. One day they're engaged, responsive, and everything feels normal. The next, silence. No calls, no replies, just a sudden, distant energy. But here's the truth. This isn't always about them pulling away. Sometimes it's a game. By ignoring you, they're checking if you'll chase. They want to see how much you care, how much effort you'll put in, and most importantly, how much control they have over you. If you start double texting, over-explaining, or asking what's wrong, they win. You've just shown them that their absence affects you, giving them the upper hand. It's like a tug of war. The moment they drop the rope, ignoring you, they're watching to see if you'll pull harder. But what happens if you don't? The game ends. That's the power of not reacting. If someone ignores you to test your response and you give them nothing, they lose control. This is where Stoic wisdom shines. He who needs least from others is the most powerful. Real strength isn't in proving you care. It's in not needing external validation to feel secure. When you stop chasing, stop over-explaining, and stop proving your worth, you become untouchable. I once noticed a strange pattern with someone I considered close. Whenever I got busy or focused on my own goals, they suddenly turned cold. No replies, no effort. At first, I assumed they were just preoccupied. But then I tested something I didn't chase. No extra texts, no, hey, is something wrong? Just silence. And guess what? They came back. A few days later, they were suddenly interested again. Friendly, engaging, acting like nothing had happened. That's when it clicked. This wasn't about lost interest. It was a test to see if I'd beg for their attention. Because I didn't, they lost their leverage. How to handle this? 1. Recognize the pattern. If someone repeatedly pulls away and expects you to chase, it's not a coincidence, it's a tactic. 2. Don't take the bait. If they ignore you for a reaction, respond with silence. 3. Know your worth. The right people won't need to manipulate you into proving you care, they'll already know. At the end of the day, attention should be mutual, not tested. If someone is playing games, let them. Just don't play along. Number 2, they no longer benefit from you. Let's talk about one of the most frustrating experiences, when someone suddenly starts ignoring you. One day, they're warm, engaged, making plans. The next, silence. No calls, no replies, just distance. And you're left wondering, what did I do wrong? Here's the hard truth. Some people were never truly there for you. They were there for what you provided. Maybe it was your support, your connections, your generosity, or simply the way you made them feel. The moment they stop benefiting, they disappear. Think of it like a power outlet. These people are like devices plugged into a charging source, sticking around as long as they're getting what they need. But once they're fully charged, or find a better outlet, they unplug without hesitation. That's why some people vanish without warning. They never valued you, only the energy they could take from you. This is where Stoic wisdom offers clarity. Epictetus once said, "Attach yourself to what is true, not to those who are temporary." That's the lesson. Stop tying your worth to those who are just passing through. The right people don't leave when they no longer need something from you. They stay because they value you, not just what you provide. I once knew someone who seemed genuinely interested in me. They were always reaching out, always friendly. But looking back, every interaction followed a pattern. They needed something. Advice, a favor, emotional support. And I gave, because I believed in being there for people. Then one day, I decided to pull back. Not in a rude way, just to see if they'd reach out without needing anything. And guess what? They disappeared. No more calls, no more messages. That's when it hit me, they were never really a friend. They were just using me as a convenience. The moment I stopped giving, they had no reason to stay. How to handle this? 1. Recognize the signs. If someone is only around when they need something, take note. 2. Stop chasing people who leave. If they disappear the moment you stop providing, let them. 3. Invest in real connections. True relationships aren't built on transactions, but on mutual respect and care. At the end of the day, some people will leave when they no longer benefit from you. Don't take it personally. Take it as a lesson. Because the ones who stay, they're the ones who were meant to. If this resonated with you, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights. Number 3. They're influenced by others. Let's talk about something frustrating yet revealing. When someone starts acting differently toward you. Not because of anything you did, but because of what they've been told. One day, they're warm and friendly. The next, cold, distant, uninterested. and you're left wondering what changed. Here's the truth. Weak-minded people don't think for themselves. They let others do it for them. Instead of seeking clarity, they listen to whispers, rumors, and outside judgments. And once those seeds of doubt are planted, they start seeing you through someone else's lens, not their own. Think of it like a leaf in the wind. A strong tree stays rooted no matter how hard the wind blows. But a weak leaf, it gets carried in any direction. People who are easily influenced are the same. Lacking a solid foundation of their own, they sway wherever external forces push them. If someone can be convinced to turn against you without questioning the source, they were never truly reliable to begin with. And this is where Stoic wisdom offers clarity. A mind that can be easily swayed was never truly yours to begin with. People with integrity seek truth, not rumors. If someone can be turned against you that easily, consider it a lesson, not a loss. I once had a close friend who suddenly became distant. No argument, no explanation, just a noticeable shift. At first, I thought they were just busy. Then I found out they'd been told something false about me. Instead of asking for the truth, they simply believed it. I had two choices: chase them down and explain myself, or let them reveal who they really were. I chose the latter. No defending myself, no correcting rumors, no begging them to see the truth. And guess what? Months later, they reached out, realizing the same person who fed them lies had done the same to others. By then, I had already moved on. Because here's the truth. Anyone who can be easily turned against you was never truly on your side. How to handle this? 1. Don't waste energy defending yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. If they don't value the truth enough to ask, they don't deserve an explanation. 2nd, let people reveal their loyalty. A real friend won't let gossip shape their perception of you. 3, be grateful for the clarity. If someone is weak enough to be swayed, they were never a solid part of your life to begin with. At the end of the day, you don't lose real people, you lose illusions. Let the weak-minded drift away and surround yourself with those who think for themselves. Number 4, you've stopped playing by their rules. Let's talk about what happens when you stop tolerating manipulation. People who once thrived on controlling you will start to pull away. At first, it's confusing. Someone who was once close suddenly becomes distant. They stop reaching out, stop including you, and might even act cold. But take a step back, and the reason becomes clear. Their behavior changed because yours did. Here's the truth. When you stop playing by their rules, they lose their hold on you. Some people only stick around as long as they can dictate how you think, act, or respond. The moment you stop tolerating their guilt trips, subtle manipulation, or need for control, they begin to fade away. Not because you did something wrong, but because they never saw you as an equal, only as someone they could influence. Think of it like a puppet with cut strings. As long as the strings are intact, the puppeteer controls every movement. But once the strings are cut, the puppet stops moving the way they want, and instead of adapting, the puppeteer simply walks away. Because without control, they lose interest. That's exactly how manipulators operate. The moment you stop reacting the way they expect, they pull back. Not because you changed, but because they lost their power. And this is where Stoic wisdom applies. The price of independence is the loss of those who wanted you dependent. True independence means standing firm in your values, even when it costs you relationships. Those who truly respect you will adjust to your boundaries. But those who only valued their control over you, they'll disappear. And that's not a loss, it's freedom. I once knew someone who constantly tried to control how I responded to situations. If I disagreed, they'd guilt trip me. If I set a boundary, they'd call me unfair. For a long time, I went along with it, thinking that keeping the peace would eventually make things better. But one day I stopped. No more explaining, no more justifying, just standing my ground. And their response? They vanished. No argument, no discussion, just distance. At first, it felt like a loss. Then I realized it wasn't. It was freedom. How to handle people like this. 1. Recognize the pattern. If someone only sticks around when they can control you, it's not a real connection. 2. Stop justifying yourself. The moment you stop explaining and start acting, they lose their power. 3. Let them walk away. If someone only valued you when they could influence you, their absence means you're moving in the right direction. Not everyone will celebrate your independence, but the ones who leave, they were never really there for you, only for the control. Let them go and stand firm in who you are. Number 5. They feel intimidated by your growth. Here's something most people don't expect. When you start growing, some people will pull away. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your progress makes them uncomfortable. They liked you when you stayed on their level, when you weren't a reminder of everything they could be but aren't willing to work for. But the moment you start rising, instead of supporting you, they distance themselves. The hard truth. Some people would rather lose you than confront their own insecurities. They don't hate your success. They hate what it forces them to see in themselves. Think of it like climbing a mountain. At the start, you and a friend are hiking side by side. The journey feels shared. But as you push harder, climb higher, they start slowing down. They complain, suggest turning back, or worse, resent you for continuing upward. Then suddenly they stop. They say, "You've changed. You're not the same anymore." But what they really mean is, "I can't keep up." And instead of climbing with you, they'd rather stay behind. The Stoic perspective. Do not shrink to make others comfortable. Grow and let them choose to keep up. Your growth isn't an attack on anyone. It's a test of who's willing to rise with you. I had a close friend. Let's call him David. For years, we were on the same path, same mindset, same routines. But then I started changing, reading more, setting bigger goals, shifting how I thought about success. At first, David seemed supportive, genuinely excited. "That's amazing, man, keep going." But as I kept progressing, his energy shifted. The jokes started. "Oh, so now you're better than us." Always with a playful tone, but a sharp edge. Then came the subtle distancing. "Man, you're too busy for me now." It wasn't about my schedule, it was about his discomfort. Eventually I realized he wasn't celebrating my growth anymore. He was looking for ways to downplay it. One day I asked him directly, "Hey, I feel like things are different between us. What's going on?" He shrugged. "You've changed, man. I don't know. It's like you're trying too hard." And that's when it hit me. I wasn't changing too much. He was staying the same. Instead of feeling inspired, he felt threatened. And rather than growing, he chose to step away. How to handle this? 1. Don't shrink yourself. If someone can't handle your growth, that's their battle, not yours. 2. Pay attention to energy shifts. If someone pulls away when you level up, they were never truly rooting for you. 3. Let them go with peace. Not everyone is meant to continue the journey with you. Growth comes with a price, the loss of those unwilling to rise with you. But real friends, they won't just keep up, they'll push you even higher. If you've made it this far, drop a thank God in the comments and hit like. Your support keeps me creating, and I hope these videos inspire you to keep growing. Let's rise together. Number 6, you've exposed their true nature. The moment you stop tolerating dishonesty, manipulation, or selfishness, certain people vanish. Not because you push them away, but because they can't operate where their deceit no longer works. They thrived on deception, half-truths, and hidden agendas. Once you see through it, they have 2 options: change or leave. And most, they leave. It's easier to walk away than to face their own flaws. You didn't lose them, they lost control over you. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. At first, everything seems fine, but once the light shines, the mess, the dust, and the hidden filth become visible. You can't unsee it. That's exactly what happens when you recognize someone's true nature. Those who relied on shadows resent the light. They'll say, "You've changed." But what they really mean is, "You stopped letting me take advantage of you." As Stoic wisdom reminds us, the truth only offends those who live a lie. An honest person has nothing to fear. But those built on deception, they hate the truth because it exposes them. I once knew someone who always played the victim. Every problem, every conflict, it was never their fault. And for a long time, I believed them. I defended them, gave them the benefit of the doubt. But then, little cracks started to show. Small lies, contradictions, moments where the mask slipped. So, one day I did something different. I stopped blindly accepting their excuses and started asking direct questions. Their response? Instant defensiveness. Suddenly I was too harsh, overanalyzing, not the same person anymore. And then, just like that, they disappeared. No real explanation, just distance. Because once I stopped playing along, they had nothing left to gain. How to handle this? 1. Don't regret seeing the truth. It might hurt, but it's better than living in a lie. 2. Let them go. If someone vanishes the moment they can't deceive you, they were never real to begin with. 3. Stand firm in your integrity. The right people will respect your honesty. The wrong ones will run from it. At the end of the day, the truth doesn't destroy real relationships. It only destroys the false ones. Let the pretenders fade. You're better off without them. Number 7. It's a blessing in disguise. At first, being ignored feels like rejection. It stings, makes you question what went wrong, and can leave you feeling unwanted. But here's the truth. It's not a loss. It's a filter. When people suddenly distance themselves without explanation, they're revealing something important. They were never meant to stay. So instead of grieving their absence, see it for what it truly is, a blessing in disguise. Think of it like a tree shedding its dead leaves. Trees don't mourn the leaves that fall in autumn, they let them go, making space for new growth in the spring. Life works the same way. Some people are seasonal. They were never meant to grow with you long term. When they walk away or ignore you, they're clearing space for the right people to enter. A Stoic reminder: do not grieve those who walked away. Be grateful they revealed themselves. If someone can ignore you so easily, they never truly valued you. That's not a loss, it's clarity. I once had a friend who was always around until they weren't. No argument, no fallout, just silence. At first I felt confused, even hurt. Did I do something wrong? I considered reaching out, fixing something I didn't even understand. But then I made a choice. I didn't chase. Days turned into weeks, and I realized something. I had always been the one keeping the friendship alive. The moment I stopped trying, they didn't even notice. And that's when it hit me. I hadn't lost a real friend. I had lost the illusion of one. That silence, it was the answer I never knew I needed. How to handle this? 1. Shift your mindset. Being ignored doesn't define your worth. It reveals theirs. 2. Don't chase those who leave. If someone can walk away so easily, their presence was never real. 3. Focus on those who stay. True connections don't need constant proving. They flow effortlessly. At the end of the day, silence isn't a loss. It's a gift. The ones who ignore you, they just made space for those who truly see you. If this resonated with you, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights.